Hey guys, my name is Leslie. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing some different things you can make using granny squares. So first, what are granny squares? Granny squares are basically a crocheted square. There's many different types, many different patterns. There are tons of tutorials out there for different squares. I even have one on my page. And granny squares are a very beginner friendly thing to make as well. And what you can do with them is endless. So here are a few things that I have made, things I want to make, and just other ideas out there for granny squares. I have notes, so if you see me looking down, that's why. First, the easiest thing you can make is a coaster. So once you make your granny square and you have it completed, just using it as a coaster could be really cute. Now, granny squares are fun because you can pick any colors and size as well. So when you make a traditional kind of like 4 rounds square, you can use that as a coaster. Now, I have a few completed granny squares here. So for example, this one, I think it's so cute. It could really work as a coaster. This is just 4 different rounds. Next idea is a fanny pack. Now I have actually made a lot of fanny packs in my time out of granny squares, and you only need 4 completed granny squares to make a fanny pack. This right here is actually a fanny pack that I made. It was done using, again, 4 granny squares. And I'll kind of do a brief overview of how those are assembled. So I'll probably put that on the side here, but basically you just assemble 3 in a straight row and then fold the corners over and attach 1 more square. So this bag, I actually attached a zipper to it and I added a lining on the inside, which is really cute. The strap, I added a button to make it adjustable actually. So there's, I think, a couple buttons on here. So you could wear it around your waist or over your shoulder, kind of drape like a crossbody bag. But again, this was only done using 4 granny squares, and then I just did a couple of rounds of stitches on the top. So that's just another idea. Another idea I have seen out of granny squares from Pinterest are AirPod cases. So these are really cute and they look pretty easy to make as well. They're not too big. Probably make them out of just 2 small granny squares put together, and your AirPod case can fit on the inside. So something else I have made, I have shown this bag in a couple of my videos, but I have this just granny square bag. This is 1 square here, 1 square here, and I just attached them together. Basically, I completed the squares. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds for my granny squares, and then I did half double crochets on each square separately, and then I slip stitched them together. I made this strap as well, so if you guys want a tutorial for this, I could definitely whip one up. But yeah, it turned out really cute. I like doing this like kind of flower pattern like granny square, as you can tell. But yeah, there's many different types of granny squares out there. So I'm a big purse girl. I have made granny squares out of purses a couple different ways. Like I just showed you the 2 granny square bag. You can also take smaller granny squares and put them together to make bags as well. So I have done this in both a 4x4 paneling, which makes like a smaller bag. I've done this with daisy granny squares. And it turns out really cute, so I'll insert a picture. And I've also done a 9x9 tote size granny square bag where I will just assemble them. And I've done many different kinds with a lot of different color combinations, and they always turn out super, super cool. And I've also made bags out of 12 different granny squares assembled together. I'll insert a picture demonstrating how those should be assembled. A lot of these photos I'm showing are things that I have made from my own projects that I have posted on my crafting Instagram account. You can also make a bag out of 3 granny squares. They would just have to be a little bit larger, and then I'll show how that should be assembled as well. These are just like really cool things. For bags in general, I would recommend adding some type of lining on the inside to prevent stretching. That can happen with a lot of different crocheted bags. And a lot of granny squares use double crochets, which can be kind of stretchier and have some gaps in them. So if you want to prevent things from falling out of your bags, or if you want to preserve the shape of the bag very well, I would recommend using a fabric lining on the inside. I think it gives it a cleaner finish as well. So I will be sure to include some of the bags I have made. I'll insert some images in this video so you can see all types of bags I've made. But moving on from bags, there are other things you can make out of granny squares. One being a pillowcase. Now I'll insert some pictures from Pinterest so you can see what I mean. You can make this in a lot of different ways, similar to how the bags are. You can do like a 9x9 and then insert the pillow and slip stitch along the end, and there you go, that's a pillowcase. You could do one super big granny square, fold it in and attach it that way. There's another pillowcase. You could do two different granny squares, put them together. There's another pillowcase. So the options are pretty endless. I know Pinterest is a good source of inspiration for different granny square projects. And if you're enjoying this video so far, subscribe, like, comment, do all the things. If you're a beginner looking to crochet something large like a blanket, I think a granny square blanket could be a very good way for you to kind of get that through. Granny squares are very repetitive stitches, but you don't really need to like keep count or keep track. They're not complicated at all, and you can just keep going in rounds and rounds and rounds until you get a big enough blanket. There's plenty I've seen on Pinterest, and they're also really good for using up your scraps. If you have a lot of yarn scraps from leftover projects, combining them into one blanket could be a really good way of making something beautiful out of scraps. And finally, something that I want to make is a granny square scarf. I do want to find the right type of yarn. I feel like a lot of the yarn that I use is not super soft, and I wouldn't want something like scratchy around my neck, but a granny square scarf could be super pretty. I love like the winter accessories. I live in Wisconsin, it's super cold here. It snowed this morning. Finding use for things that you crochet is super fulfilling, and it makes you feel like it makes me feel satisfied, at least when I can actually use the things that I am making. And there are so many different types of granny squares and so many tutorials out there online. Some of my favorite types of granny squares are smiley face granny squares. I think those are super cute. I've turned those into a couple fanny packs. And the classic granny cluster will always be, I think, a staple in crochet. Once you learn how to do that, you can do really so many different kinds of projects. And of course, as I showed, kind of like the more flower type granny square is something I really go towards. I have a tutorial on my page for this type of granny square. It is very similar to the clustering of a traditional granny square, but instead of doing clusters, we just double crochet the whole round. They're super easy to make as well, so check that out if you're interested. Yeah, the point being, there's so many different things you can make, and I love doing granny square projects. I think the bags are like super eye-catching and very, very cute. So that's all I have for this video. If you could like, comment, subscribe, that would mean the world to me. If you have any suggestions for videos ideas, or if you want to see tutorials for anything that I have shown, I'd be happy to make those for you. Yes, thank you for watching. Bye.